Fellow Stoic, they never wanted you to know this. Hate is rarely spoken out loud, but it always leaves clues. If someone does this to you, they don't just dislike you, they truly hate you. Some people secretly despise you, but they won't always say it outright. They won't risk the confrontation, and they won't show their hand too soon. Instead, they use subtle actions, words, and energy to reveal their true feelings. A Stoic learns to see through deception and recognize who truly stands against them. But here's what they don't expect. You are about to gain the clarity they wanted to keep from you. You're about to learn how to detect their hatred and, more importantly, how to make it powerless. In this video, you will uncover the hidden ways people show their hatred, why Stoics never let enemies shake their peace, and how to handle silent hatred with wisdom and strength. They think you'll stay blind to their tactics, that you will keep making excuses for them. But after this, their masks will be worthless. If you're ready to see the truth, like this video and comment yes if you resonate with this message. And remember this, a Stoic doesn't seek revenge. Our justice is far greater. We take back our peace, we deny them control, and we leave them trapped in their own hatred. Stay until the end, because once you see the signs, you can never unsee them. The reality of silent hatred. Hatred is rarely loud. It does not always come with shouting, open hostility, or blatant confrontation. More often, it festers in silence, lurking behind polite smiles, indifferent glances, and casual conversations laced with hidden venom. You have felt it before. The tension in the air when you enter a room, the false friendliness that lacks warmth, the way someone listens but never truly hears you. And yet, for so long, you have dismissed it. You have convinced yourself that perhaps you were imagining it, that maybe you were overanalyzing. After all, wouldn't true hatred be obvious? Wouldn't they make it clear if they despise you? But here's the truth. Most people are cowards. They lack the strength to face their own emotions, so they bury them beneath layers of subtle sabotage. They will not strike you directly. They will weaken you in ways that are difficult to prove. They will not declare war. They will let their resentment fester in whispers, hoping you never notice. But you do notice. You have always noticed. And now, it is time to stop pretending you don't. It is a painful thing to realize that not everyone in your life wishes you well. There are people who resent your presence, not because you have wronged them, but because your very existence unsettles them. Perhaps they see in you what they lack: strength, resilience, or a sense of purpose they themselves have never found. Maybe your success, even if small, reminds them of their stagnation. Or it could be something as simple as the way you carry yourself, the way you remain unbothered in moments that would shatter them. Their resentment has nothing to do with you, yet they will project it onto you. And the worst part? They will pretend to be your allies. They will disguise their bitterness behind hollow words of support, behind passive-aggressive jokes, behind a pattern of small betrayals that leave you doubting yourself. If you have ever felt this silent hostility, this unspoken resentment that gnaws at the edges of your peace, know that you are not imagining it. You are simply seeing what they hoped would remain hidden. The Stoics knew that external hostility, no matter how subtle, is not something to fear. Epictetus reminds us, "What injury have you received? If you are not made worse, what does it matter?" Discourses the 25th of January, 28. Their silent hatred only carries weight if it disrupts your inner world. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Meditations 4.1. A Stoic takes the resentment of others and transforms it into fuel, not despair. But this requires awareness. You must learn to see clearly, to recognize their hostility without absorbing it. Hatred disguised as politeness is still hatred. Resentment masked with friendly words is still resentment. And recognizing this does not make you paranoid. It makes you powerful. You must develop the ability to observe without reacting, to notice without becoming disturbed. The moment you realize that their bitterness is a reflection of them, not you, you take back control. They want you to question yourself. They want you to shrink. But the Stoic path demands that you remain unshaken. At first, this awareness will feel isolating. You may start to notice patterns you once ignored. The way certain people speak over you in conversations, the way your successes are met with lukewarm congratulations, the way your energy shifts when certain individuals enter the room. You may feel the urge to call them out, to force them to admit what you already know. But here's where your power lies. You do not need their confession. You do not need their validation. You do not even need their honesty. Their actions have already spoken louder than any words ever could. The shift will come when you stop seeking to change them and instead focus on strengthening yourself. The moment you stop reacting, you become untouchable. They may try to provoke you, but their tactics will fail. They may attempt to exclude you, but a Stoic does not seek inclusion among the resentful. They may whisper behind your back, but whispers hold no weight against a mind that is fortified with clarity. There will come a day when their hatred will exhaust them before it ever reaches you. Their resentment will burn them from the inside out, while you remain steady, indifferent, and free. They will watch as you move forward unaffected, and it will drive them mad. This is not because you have sought revenge, but because you have denied them the one thing they wanted: power over you. The greatest victory is not retaliation, it is indifference. The ability to stand in the presence of their resentment and remain completely unbothered. The ability to walk away from their silent sabotage without a trace of bitterness in your heart. The ability to recognize their hatred for what it is, a self-inflicted wound that has nothing to do with you. This is the strength of the Stoic. This is a mindset that no enemy, no matter how subtle, can ever shake. Comment aware if you've ever sensed someone's hidden resentment but refused to be affected. You are not alone in this realization. You are simply awakening to a truth that was always there, and now that you see it, you can never unsee it. But how do they show their hatred without saying a word? It starts with disguised insults and backhanded compliments. Let's expose them. Subtle insults and backhanded compliments. They will not confront you directly, but they cannot hide what is in their hearts. The resentment they carry leaks through in ways they believe to be undetectable. Small jabs disguised as humor, compliments laced with condescension, and subtle shifts in tone meant to leave you questioning yourself. You know the feeling well. Omeo praises your achievements, but something about the way they say it feels off. Their words should be encouraging, yet they leave you uneasy, as if there was something hidden beneath them. I never would have expected you to do so well, they say with a full smile. Your lucky things worked out for you, they add with a glance that doesn't quite meet your eyes. At first, you tell yourself you're overthinking it. You try to accept their words at face value. But deep down, you sense the truth. This is not admiration. It is concealed bitterness, an attempt to diminish your worth while maintaining plausible deniability. They want you to doubt yourself without realizing why. They want you to feel small without ever being able to call them out. And for a long time, you may have let these comments pass unnoticed, brushing them aside as nothing more than awkward phrasing. But now, it is time to sharpen your vision. A Stoic does not ignore what is in plain sight. This is how the envious operate. They lack the courage to openly oppose you, so they undermine you through subtle words designed to erode your confidence. Their insults are not loud. They are woven into casual conversation, leaving just enough ambiguity to make you wonder if you are imagining things. They do this because they fear direct confrontation. To insult you outright would expose them. But if they phrase their contempt carefully enough, they can hurt you while appearing innocent. They rely on your kindness, on your willingness to give them the benefit of the doubt. And this is why it is so frustrating. You feel the sting of their words, yet when you try to explain it to others, it sounds trivial. Maybe they didn't mean it that way, people will say. And that is exactly what they want. To leave you feeling isolated in your awareness, unsure whether you are right to be offended. This is their game, and they play it well. But once you recognize it, you can never unsee it. The Stoics teach us that clarity is power, that deception loses its strength the moment it is exposed. Seneca tells us, a person's speech reveals their character. It exposes what is hidden in the heart. Letter 114.22. Their words, no matter how cleverly disguised, betray them. And now, you know how to listen. The struggle you face is not new. The Stoics encountered this same kind of veiled hostility in their time. Consider Epictetus, who spent his early life as a slave. His intellect and wisdom set him apart, and there is no doubt that those around him would have viewed him with silent resentment. He understood that envy often disguises itself as concern, that jealousy hides behind politeness. But did he let it shake him? No. He knew that the opinions of the bitter and the insecure could not touch him, and neither can they touch you. When someone says, "You're lucky," you will hear the truth beneath their words. I resent your success. When they say, I didn't expect you to do so well, you will understand what they really mean. I never believed in you, and I don't like that you proved me wrong. These are not compliments. They are poisoned arrows wrapped in silk, designed to pierce you without leaving a visible wound. But you will not be wounded. A Stoic does not flinch at the bitterness of others. You will hear their words, and you will smile, not because you are fooled, but because you are untouchable. And then something shifts. The more you recognize these hidden attacks for what they are, the less they affect you. You stop overanalyzing, stop second-guessing yourself. When someone delivers a backhanded compliment, you do not feel anger or confusion. You feel clarity. You see them as they are, not as they pretend to be. And because of this, your confidence grows. You begin to notice how their words lose their sting, how their attempts to diminish you fall flat. Their comments no longer plant doubt in your mind. Instead, they reveal their own insecurity. And this is where the transformation happens. You realize that the strongest response is no response at all. You do not argue. You do not demand an explanation. You simply let them expose themselves, and you move forward. This is the power of the Stoic. You become unshakable, no longer at the mercy of veiled resentment. And when they see that their words hold no weight, their frustration will grow. They will try harder, but it will be in vain. Because once you reach this level of awareness, their tactics become nothing more than noise. But this awareness is only the beginning. It is not just words that betray them. Every action, every glance, every false smile reveals more than they intend. Their body language is a mirror of their resentment, and once you learn to read it, their mask will shatter completely. They may try to hide their bitterness, but the truth always finds a way to the surface. Their eyes, their posture, the way they react when you succeed, it all tells a story. And once you see it, you hold all the power. Comment exposed if you ever caught someone doing this to you. You are no longer blind to their game. And now, it is time to go even deeper. Their words may be carefully chosen, but their bodies tell the truth. Let's decode their body language next. You're starting to see the truth. Their words betray them, but so does their body. They think they can suppress their feelings, but the body always speaks the truth. The way they look at you, or refuse to, reveals everything. Before we continue, subscribe to this channel if you're finding this valuable. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to support this content, click the super thanks button. Now, let's talk about eye contact and fake smiles, their biggest giveaways. Avoiding eye contact and fake smiles. There is a certain discomfort that comes with sensing something unspoken, an invisible tension that lingers in the air between you and another person. You feel it in the way they hesitate before speaking, in the way their smile never quite reaches their eyes. You notice how their gaze flits away too quickly when you meet their stare, as if looking at you for too long forces them to confront something they would rather ignore. Have you ever been in a room where someone avoids making eye contact with you, yet seems entirely comfortable engaging with others? Have you ever received a smile that felt hollow, like a mask stretched over something bitter? These are the moments that leave you questioning yourself, wondering if you are imagining things. But deep down, you know the truth. Their body betrays them before their words ever could. Their resentment is there, woven into the way they carry themselves around you. And now, you are beginning to see it for what it truly is. It is an unsettling feeling, realizing that someone harbors silent hostility towards you. It is even worse when they try to disguise it under the veil of false politeness. You might have noticed it in a colleague who suddenly stops acknowledging you in meetings, in a so-called friend who once celebrated your wins but now can't seem to look you in the eye when you speak. They think they are hiding it well, but the truth always leaks through in the subtle ways they carry themselves around you. Their refusal to meet your gaze is not just avoidance. It is a sign that they do not respect you enough to face you directly. Their fake smiles, stiff and fleeting, are not kindness but obligation, an effort to conceal the resentment they are too afraid to express outright. And yet, for so long, you have given them the benefit of the doubt. You have convinced yourself that perhaps they are just distant, just distracted. You have ignored the way your instincts have sounded alarms in your mind, telling you that something is wrong. But you are not imagining things. The human body speaks a language of its own, and there's a speaking loudly. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul takes the color of its thoughts." Meditations 5.16. A person's emotions shape their expressions, their posture, their entire presence. Someone consumed by envy or resentment cannot hide it forever. It will seep through, no matter how much they attempt to suppress it. Their body will betray them in ways they don't even realize. How they tense when you enter the room, how their eyes shift uneasily when you speak, how their voice loses warmth when they address you. A Stoic does not need to hear words of resentment to recognize its presence. We see things as they are, not as people wish them to appear. When you become attuned to this truth, you stop being deceived by empty pleasantries. You no longer mistake a forced smile for genuine goodwill, no longer believe that their avoidance is accidental. You do not need their confirmation to trust what is already clear. When you understand that their resentment is theirs, not yours, you take away its ability to affect you. At first, this new awareness might feel like a burden. You may start noticing things that you previously ignored, how certain people grow colder around you, how their laughter fades when you enter conversation, how they suddenly become preoccupied when you speak. But over time, this clarity becomes your greatest strength. You stop personalizing their behavior and begin to see it as a reflection of their own struggles. Their inability to meet your gaze is not a sign of your inadequacy. It is a sign of their discomfort. Their fake smile is not an insult to you, but evidence of their own internal conflict. And the moment you stop seeking their approval, stop trying to rationalize their behavior, you become immune to it. Their silence no longer unsettles you. Their avoidance no longer stings. Their resentment becomes weightless in your presence, powerless against your inner stability. This is the true power of a Stoic. Not to force truth from others, but to see it for what it is and remain unmoved. When they refuse to look at you, it is not because you are unworthy of their attention. It is because they cannot bear to face you. When they offer you a smile that lacks sincerity, it is not because you are undeserving of warmth, but because they cannot summon it within themselves. Their bitterness is their burden, not yours. And when you reach the point where you no longer react, where you no longer flinch at their silent hostility, you become untouchable. They will watch as you continue forward, unfazed, unshaken. And nothing frustrates them more than seeing you remain indifferent to the resentment they work so hard to conceal. Comment seen if you've ever noticed someone's fake friendliness. You are no longer blind to it. You see beyond the surface, and now you hold all the power. But hatred isn't just passive. It actively tries to diminish you. Let's talk about how they downplay your success and try to make you invisible. Downplaying your success and ignoring you. There is a particular kind of cruelty in being ignored. It is not loud or obvious, but it cuts deep. Have you ever spoken in a group, only to have your words go unnoticed while someone else repeats the same thing moments later and suddenly receives all the attention? Have you ever achieved something meaningful, only to be met with silence from people who once claimed to support you? It stings because it is intentional. They are not just overlooking you by accident. They see you, they hear you, but they make the deliberate choice to act as if you do not exist. This is not about forgetfulness. It is about power. To ignore someone is to say, "You are beneath my acknowledgement. You do not matter enough for me to respond to you." And when this happens enough, it starts to wear on you. You begin to question yourself. Did I really deserve that achievement? Is what I have to say actually valuable? But here is what they do not want you to realize. Their silence is not a reflection of your worth. It is a confession of their own insecurity. They cannot openly attack you, so they attempt to erase you. Your success is not something they can celebrate, because to acknowledge it would be to acknowledge their own shortcomings. They downplay your achievements as mere luck, as if you stumbled into success rather than earned it. When you work hard and accomplish something meaningful, they find ways to shift the focus away from you, to make sure that your moment is as short-lived as possible. They might even offer a begrudging compliment, but it is laced with dismissal. "I guess anyone could do that if they had the right connections." Or, "That's nice, but it's not a big deal." These comments are not just words. They are weapons, designed to plant doubt in your mind, to make you second-guess yourself. And when outright belittling doesn't work, they resort to something even more insidious: silence. They do not acknowledge your efforts at all. They do not congratulate you, do not comment, do not react. You bring up your success, and they quickly change the subject. Their message is clear: I refuse to recognize you. And for a while, it may work. You may find yourself shrinking, doubting, questioning whether your success is as significant as you once believed. But then, something shifts. You realize that their silence has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with them. Seneca tells us, "He who envies others confesses his inferiority." Letter 81.19. What does this mean? It means that their silence is not about your worth but about their fear. To acknowledge your success would force them to confront their own lack of progress. To praise you would mean admitting that they have not done the same for themselves. And so they choose the coward's path, pretending you do not exist. But a Stoic sees through this illusion. A Stoic understands that recognition from others is a shallow currency, one that holds no real value. If your worth depended on whether others acknowledge you, then it would be fragile and fleeting. But true worth is internal. It is unshaken by the opinions of the bitter and the resentful. They can try to diminish you, but they cannot reach what is beyond their grasp, your own self-assurance. If they refuse to acknowledge your success, so be it. You did not achieve what you did for their approval. You did it because it was right, because it was a reflection of your effort, your discipline, and your growth. Let them stay silent. Their silence does not erase what you have built. And here is where the transformation begins. At first, it may feel lonely to detach from their approval, to move forward without their validation. But something remarkable happens when you stop needing their recognition. You become free. You no longer wait for applause, no longer hope for acknowledgement. Instead, you find power in your own certainty. You know what you have done. You know what you are capable of. And without realizing it, you begin to attract the right kind of people, the ones who see you without insecurity, who acknowledge your success without feeling diminished by it. Your confidence grows, your energy shifts, and soon, their silence no longer feels like rejection. It feels like irrelevance. Their refusal to recognize you no longer stings, because you no longer require it. And that, more than anything, is what they fear. They wanted you to need their approval. They wanted their silence to break you. But instead, it made you unshakable. A Stoic understands the game. If they ignore you, remain indifferent. If they try to diminish you, rise above. Your value is not dependent on their recognition. Your success does not shrink because they refuse to see it. In fact, it shines all the brighter because it is real. You have nothing to prove to them. Their silence is not your burden to carry. Let them pretend you do not exist while you continue building, growing, and thriving. Because nothing disrupts a bitter heart more than seeing someone flourish without needing their approval. Comment unshaken if you refuse to let their hatred define your worth. And now, the final truth. How should a Stoic respond to hatred? Let's break it down. The signs are clear. You can now recognize silent hatred for what it is. But what do you do next? Should you confront them? Should you expose them? No. There is a far greater response, one that crushes their power over you completely. Let's talk about the Stoic way to respond. How a Stoic responds to hate. There is a moment when you realize that not everyone will be happy for you. No matter how kind you have been, no matter how much good you have done, there will be people who despise you simply because you exist. They resent your confidence, your success, your peace. They see something in you that unsettles them, something they lack but cannot name. And so, they lash out, not always with open hostility, but with subtle sabotage, cold indifference, and calculated words meant to unnerve you. You may feel the urge to respond, to correct their misunderstanding, to prove that you are not their enemy. But here's where most people fall into the trap. By engaging with hatred, you allow it to tether itself to you. You pick up a burden that was never yours to carry. You turn your gaze toward the people trying to hold you back, rather than the path ahead. And that is exactly what they want. They want to pull you into their world, to force you into a battle that should not even concern you. But the Stoic knows better. The Stoic understands that true power is not in winning arguments or seeking revenge. It is in remaining untouched, unbothered, and entirely indifferent to the bitterness of others. The greatest challenge is resisting the need to respond. When someone attacks you, ignoring them feels unnatural. You may think, if I don't defend myself, they will believe they have won. If I don't correct them, others might believe their lies. This is where ego traps you. The idea that you must justify yourself, that you must change the minds of those who have already decided to hate you, is a battle that leads only to exhaustion. Their opinions are not your concern. If they have twisted the truth in their own minds, nothing you say will untangle it. And if they have chosen to resent you, no explanation will make them love you. This is why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them." Meditations 11.16. The insult itself holds no power. It is only our reaction to it that gives it meaning. The whisper campaign against you, the cold glaze, the passive-aggressive comments, these things do not harm you unless you allow them to. If you decide that their words are weightless, then they are weightless. The moment you understand that their hatred belongs to them, not you, you become free. Hatred is a self-inflicted wound. It poisons the person who carries it, not the one it is directed toward. Seneca understood this well when he said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." On Anger 3.5, think about what happens when you refuse to acknowledge the hostility of others. Their resentment does not disappear, it grows. They fester in their own bitterness, while you continue on your path, unshaken. Imagine the frustration they feel when their insults go unanswered, when their attempts to sabotage you fail, when their hatred eats away at them while you remain completely at peace. That is the ultimate Stoic victory, not lowering yourself to their level, but rising so high that their hatred can no longer reach you. They want to see you flinch. They want to know that their word affected you. But what happens when you offer no reaction? When you continue succeeding, continue thriving, and remain entirely indifferent to their negativity, it destroys them from the inside out. And the best part? You have done nothing. You have simply refused to engage. Over time, you will notice a shift. The same people who once tried to bring you down will either exhaust themselves or remove themselves from your life completely. They will either be forced to let go of their resentment or be consumed by it. And all the while, you will remain steady. Your energy will no longer be drained by meaningless conflicts. Your mind will no longer be preoccupied with what others think of you. And in this newfound freedom, you will thrive. Opportunities will come more easily because you are no longer weighed down by the need to defend yourself. Genuine relationships will flourish because you are no longer wasting time on those who wish you harm. You will walk through life unburdened, while those who sought to hinder you will remain trapped in their own bitterness. And when you look back, you will realize that they were never truly a threat. They were merely distractions, noisy, fleeting, and ultimately powerless. This is what it means to be a Stoic. It is not about being emotionless, nor is it about pretending that negativity does not exist. It is about mastering the art of indifference, about choosing where your energy goes and refusing to give power to those who do not deserve it. When someone hates you, let them. When they attempt to provoke you, stay silent. Not because you are weak, but because you are untouchable. They want a reaction. Deny them that satisfaction. They want to see you fall, rise higher than ever before. They want to see you care. Show them that their hatred is irrelevant. This is your power. This is your freedom. And once you embrace it, nothing and no one can ever control you again. Comment untouched if you refuse to be weighed down by the hatred of others. They never expected you to learn this. They never wanted you to see through their game. But now, you do, and now, you are free. In the silent corridors of your mind, where doubts echo like distant thunder and the weight of betrayal settles heavy on your heart, you begin to sense that the truth you had long sought is finally within reach. You have felt the sting of deception, the quiet venom of familiar faces whose words and actions betray their hidden disdain. In those moments when loneliness and uncertainty cloud your vision, remember that you are not alone. Many have walked this path of awakening, feeling the chill of manipulated affections and the crushing disappointment of unfulfilled promises. Today, you stand at a pivotal juncture, a moment of clarity when the signs are unmistakable. The subtle signals of disdain, the furtive gestures that reveal their inner hatred, have all come together to form a mosaic of truth that you can no longer ignore. This revelation is not meant to isolate you, but to empower you, to remind you that recognizing the venom in their actions is a first step toward reclaiming your true power. Now, as you stand at the crossroads of this transformative journey, the choice before you is both clear and compelling. The signs have been revealed, the veils of deception have been lifted, and you now know the sacred truth. The Stoic response is one of detachment, peace, and mastery over yourself. Comment "I am Stoic" if this resonates with you. Subscribe to join our community of awakened souls, and share this message with those who need to hear it. They never wanted you to see the truth, but now you do.